Long ago, in the land of Israel, two armies stood facing each other across a wide valley. On one hill stood the army of Israel led by King Saul. On the opposite hill stood the Philistine army, Israel's enemies. The soldiers camped there day after day, waiting for battle. Tents filled the hillsides, armor clanked, fires burned at night. Everyone knew a fight was coming. But there was one huge problem. The Philistines had a giant warrior named Goliath. Goliath was enormous, over 9 feet tall. His armor was heavy bronze, and he carried a giant spear that looked as thick as a tree branch. Just seeing him made people afraid. Every morning and every evening, Goliath walked out into the valley between the two armies. His deep voice thundered across the hills.
Choose one man to fight me. If he defeats me, we will serve you. But if I defeat him, you will serve us.
Goliath laughed at Israel's army and mocked them. The soldiers of Israel were terrified. Even King Saul was afraid. No one wanted to fight the giant. For 40 days, Goliath came out and challenged them. Every time the giant appeared, the soldiers trembled and backed away. Now far from the battlefield, in the town of Bethlehem, lived young David. David was still caring for his father's sheep, though he sometimes traveled back and forth to help King Saul by playing the harp. David's 3 oldest brothers had joined Saul's army and were camped near the battlefield. One morning, David's father Jesse called him. "David," Jesse said, "take this grain and bread to your brothers. Bring this cheese to their commander, and see how your brothers are doing." David obeyed right away. Early the next morning, he left someone to watch the sheep and began the journey to the army camp. He carried supplies and hurried along the dusty road. When David arrived, the camp was noisy with excitement. Soldiers were rushing into battle positions and shouting war cries. David greeted his brothers and began talking with them. Just then, Goliath marched out. The giant shouted his usual challenge across the valley. His booming voice echoed throughout the hills.
Choose one of your men to fight me. If he wins, we will be your servants. But if I win, you will be my servant.
As soon as the Israelite soldiers heard him, fear spread throughout the camp once more. Men stepped backwards, some hid, others whispered nervously. But David was shocked. "Who is this Philistine?" David asked, "that he should defy the armies of the living God?" The soldiers stared at David in surprise. Didn't he understand how dangerous Goliath was? David's oldest brother, Eliab, became angry. "Why are you here?" Eliab snapped. "Who's watching over those few sheep? I know you just came to watch the battle." But David was not trying to cause trouble. He simply could not understand why everyone was acting as if God could not help them. David kept asking questions about the giant. Soon, word reached King Saul that a young shepherd boy was speaking bravely about fighting Goliath. So Saul sent for David. Imagine David standing in the king's tent. Around him were soldiers, commanders, armor, and worried faces. Yet David spoke calmly. "Don't let anyone be afraid because of this giant," David said. "I will fight him." King Saul looked at David in disbelief. "You are only a boy," Saul said. "Goliath has been a warrior since he was young." But David explained why he trusted God. "When I was taking care of my father's sheep," David said, "a lion came and carried off a lamb. I chased it, rescued the lamb, and struck the lion. Another time, a bear attacked the flock, and God helped me defeat it too." And then David boldly declared something important. "The Lord who rescued me from the lion and the bear will rescue me from this Philistine." David understood something the others had forgotten. He was not fighting alone. God was with him. The soldiers only saw how big Goliath was, but David saw how big God was. Saul finally agreed. "Go," Saul said, "and may the Lord be with you." And then Saul offered David his own armor. Soldiers placed the heavy armor onto David's shoulders. But David could barely move. He tried walking around, but the armor did not fit him because he was not used to wearing it. So David took it all off. Instead, he chose the simple tools he already knew how to use. He picked up his shepherd's staff and took his sling, and then he walked down to a stream and carefully selected 5 smooth stones. Can you imagine how the soldiers must have felt watching him? A shepherd boy, no armor, no sword, only a sling and some stones. But David was not depending on weapons. He was depending on God. As David walked toward the giant, Goliath stared at him in disbelief. The giant expected a mighty warrior. Instead, he saw a young shepherd boy approaching with a staff.
Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?
The giant cursed David and threatened him. But David did not run away. Instead, he bravely stood and answered with powerful words. "You come against me with a sword and a spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel,